Hey, what's going on, guys? Steve-O back here again, and today I'm bringing you another X and Y OU battle. So today's battle isn't live, but I really wanted to share this battle just because I'm facing a stall team, and a lot of players do struggle against stall. So if you look at my opponent's team, it is a very, very common X and Y OU stall team, or the Pokemon in it are very common. If you haven't already guessed, I'm using the same team as last time. This is my team here on the opposite side, and this is my opponent's team. So just quickly going through my opponent's team. Like I said, it's very common. She's running, or he is running a Fire, Water, Grass core. Heatran and Venusaur, 9 times out of 10, will be the fire and grass Pokemon in that core. And then you have Quagsire, who's a very popular choice in the water position just because it provides Unaware, or it has Unaware, which stops setup sweepers. Other Pokemon you might say in the water core are Slowbro, Slowking, and Jellicent. Moving on, next my opponent has Skarmory and Chansey. So Skarmory is going to be the physical wall, it's going to provide default support just to get rid of rocks. So the team doesn't get worn down quickly. And then my opponent has Chansey, which is a special wall and will provide cleric supports, so passing wishes and using either Heal Bell or Aromatherapy to get rid of status. Lastly, my opponent has Aegislash, which is a little bit out of place on a stall team. It could be defensive, just because Aegislash does have some pretty nice defensive stats in shield form, and does have access to moves like Will-O-Wisp. So when you're facing a stall team, what you really want to do is you want to try to break the chain. And what that means is get rid of one of the Pokemon. So what makes a stall team so good isn't the individual Pokemon in the team, it's the core and defensive synergy they create. So basically what you want to do, you want to try to get rid of one of the members in that core, in that chain, as quickly as you can. And what that allows you to do is open up the floodgates for one of your Pokemon to potentially come in and start to cause major damage on their team. Okay, so let's get into the battle. So, just let me play it here. My opponent leads with Quagsire, as I lead with my Landorus. Now, I don't want to take any water move here, Ice Beam or a move like that. My Landorus is pretty important to me, so I'm just going to U-turn out into my Conkeldurr. Here I'm predicting a Scald, knowing I can take that, and if I get the burn, that's good, as I get my Guts boost and have a higher damage output. Unfortunately, my opponent goes for Toxic. I do get my Guts boost, however, I would much rather burn, just because burn does consistent damage that I can usually heal with Drain Punch, whereas Toxic damage can stack up and do more damage than what I can heal with Drain Punch. So, here I didn't think my opponent would go into Venusaur, just because of the risk the Guts boosted Ice Punch poses. They do go into Venusaur, as I had predicted a different switch, went for the knockoff. Now here I just go for the Ice Punch, hoping I'm faster or that my opponent doesn't Synthesis. And here I'm just trying to kill it. Unfortunately, my opponent does Synthesis. I don't do any damage here, and I have no business staying in now, as toxic damage is just racking up and I can't do any damage. So I'm pretty sure they're going to Synthesis here. I'm going to go to my Scizor. This is good, as I can scout to see if they have Hidden Power Fire, and if my Scizor is a good switch into this Venusaur for the majority of the battle. As it turns out, they switch out straight away as I go for the banded U-turn. And what this says is that they're probably not running Hidden Power Fire, which is good for me, which means my Scizor can just come into this Venusaur pretty much all day. I just go for the U-turn, like I said, to get my switch initiative, and you can see my Volt Turn core starting to form here. Unfortunately for me, Skarmory's running Rocky Helmet, which is bad, because that can damage can rack up quickly on my Scizor. And Scizor's going to be a key component to winning this battle with Volt Turn core. Now here my opponent predicts my Volt Switch goes into Quagsire. This isn't really the best of plays, because Quagsire can't really touch road him outside of Toxic. So here I go for the Will-O-Wisp just to get some residual damage going on this Quagsire. And I'm guessing they predict my switch out and go for the Scald. And here I know they're just going to stay in and try to get Toxic off of my road. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Hydro Pump, because it should be a 2-hit KO from this range, especially with burn damage. And like I said, I really want to try to break this chain, or break the core as soon as I can, just so I can get my so my Pokemon can start running through my opponent's team. So here I know they're not going to stay in. I know that they're not going to want to lose a Pokemon this early into the battle. So knowing they're going to switch out, I'm going to predict this and go for the Volt Switch. As they go into the Chansey, I just go, like I said, I predict this, go for the Volt Switch and get Switch Initiative. And what this means is I can go to my Conkeldurr and scare out this Chansey. Now, my opponent's switch for my Conkeldurr, this whole match will be Venusaur, just because my Conkeldurr can't touch it. Knowing this, I'm actually going to pull a double switch back into my Scizor, which works out great because, like I predicted, my opponent goes straight into Mega Venusaur at the side of my Conkeldurr. I pull the double switch into my scissor, and this gives me some nice switch initiative. So here, I know that Skarmory's Rocky Helmet's going to be a real pain. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to knock off so I can get rid of this Rocky Helmet, and what this allows me to do is switch in my scissor, or U-turn with my scissor more often, not getting worn down by Rocky Helmet. And like I said before, scissor is a key component to winning this battle, with forming that Volt Turn core. Now here, I was fearing the Stealth Rocks, even though I'm pretty sure Heatran carries it. I'm fearing that they might go for the Stealth Rock. So what I want to do is switch into my Landorus, get my own rocks up, and force him to defog, because I don't want rocks up on my side, as my Pokemon get worn down quicker, and as a stall team, he doesn't want rocks up on his side. So here, I know that I got my Stealth Rocks up, he doesn't want Stealth Rocks up on his side to wear his Pokemon down quicker. So what he's going to do, he's going to defog, and this basically gives me a free switch into my Rotom. And Skarmory, like I said, cannot really touch Rotom. And what this allows me to do is get a free Volt Switch off, because he's not going to want to switch in, he's not going to want to stay in, die to a Volt Switch, and lose a Pokemon very key to him winning the game, or she winning the game this early. So like I said, knowing this, I just go for the Volt Switch. And here you can really see my Volt Turn core doing work, and really helping me against my opponent's stall team. So Volt Switching, I get my Switch Initiative, and I just go straight into my Banded Scizor. And here I'm just going to fire off a Banded U-turn. Now, why doesn't look like I'm making progress? I actually am. This damage, even though I'm wearing it down slowly, is very good. Like I said, I chose to get rid of the Rocky Helmet, which is really good for me, because I'm not taking damage every time I U-turn with my Scizor, as he switches in his Skarmory. So here I'm just going to go straight back into my Rotom. I predicted the Mega Venusaur to come in this time, because I didn't think they would want to keep switching in Chansey, since it doesn't have leftovers. So what I decided to do, I decided to go for the Will-O-Wisp. Unfortunately, this doesn't work out well. He goes into Heatran and gets a Flash Fire boost. But like I said before, I'm pretty sure his Heatran's going to be Stealth Rock carrier, or carrying Stealth Rock for his team. So I'm pretty sure he's going to go for Stealth Rock here, and what this allows me to do is get a Hydro Pump off and start wearing down this Heatran. So yeah, that turns out just like I thought it would. Now here I can either fire off another Hydro Pump to try to get rid of this Heatran, but knowing that he's not going to want to lose a Pokemon this early in the battle, I know he's going to switch out, so again I predict this and go for the Volt Switch. So my opponent goes into Chansey, and this basically, I go for the Volt Switch, giving me Switch Initiative again. And as I've done for pretty much this whole battle, I'm just going to go straight back into Scizor, to just keep forming on my Volt Turn core. Now here, my opponent surprises me, he stays in with his Chansey, but it's also good for me as I get a nice heavy hit off in his Chansey. He goes for the Wish. I was pretty adamant that he was going to protect after this Wish. So what I wanted to do is go into my Landorus and get my Stealth Rocks up, either forcing him to defog later in the battle and stop my Pokemon from wearing down, and if my rocks stay up, it also helps me wearing down Pokemon like Chansey. So like I said, I didn't think he would switch out to, I thought he was going to protect it, I didn't think he'd switch out to a Pokemon like Quagsire, which is why I got my rocks up. Now here, I don't want to stand against this Quagsire of course, so I'm going to U-turn. My opponent actually pulls a switch into Skarmory, which is, I'm pretty sure he did this just to try to get rid of rocks ASAP. But this works out well for me, because I just U-turn, so I get Switch Initiative, Skarmory takes Stealth Rock damage and a small amount from U-turn, and I go straight into my Rotom Watch, threatening this Skarmory with Volt Switch. So here I'm pretty adamant that they're going to switch out their Skarmory, and I'm starting to run low on health. And Rotom's a very key component for me winning this battle with Volt Switch and threatening that Skarmory. So what I do here is I just Pain Split, so I can get my health back. And it works out well for me. Now I don't want to stand against this Mega Venusaur. I don't want Giga Drain to kill me. Like I said, Rotom's a very key component for me winning this battle. So I'm just going to switch out straight into my... I go into my Aegislash this time. And a pretty important turn coming up here as my opponent just Giga Drain. So, here I decide to fire off a max special attack Life Orb Shadow Ball. And as you can see here, I'm just going to pause this in a minute. It does 45%. Now what that means is that this Venusaur has to be at least like EV'd in special defense some. Has to have some special defense investment. Knowing from personal experience, if it was just max HP and max defense, that Shadow Ball would have done a lot more. Would have done more like 50% to 60%, around that range. So this is really useful information, because Venusaur tend just to invest fully in one side. They don't go half-half or anything, they just tend to go fully in one side. And what this means is my opponent's Venusaur is most likely specially defensive. This comes into play later. So here, I don't want to get stalled out by Life Orb damage and Leech Seed damage, so I'm just going to switch out into my Venusaur switch this whole match, which has been my Scizor. So I go into Scizor. I believe my opponent just goes for the Synthesis. Yep. And here I'm free to just fire off a Banded U-turn. Now I believe my opponent again just stays in Synthesis. This is good for me as I'm able to get a nice heavy Banded hit off. And again, this damage does tell me that it's most likely invested in special defense. Again, I'm going to pause this because this is an important play coming up in a minute. So I go into my Landorus. From the information we've gathered so far, we know that this Venusaur is most likely specially defensive. And what this means is, with my Adamant Max Attack Earth Plate Earthquake, I have a very, very high chance of killing it. I know that it's going to be running very minimal EVs in defense, if some, and I think like my minimum damage roll is pretty much 54%, and this Venusaur is sitting on 55%. So I know that if I fire off an Earthquake, it is more than likely going to KO here, if my opponent doesn't switch out. So here, like I said, I'm just going to fire off this Earthquake. Fortunately for me, I get a critical hit, which secures the KO, but it doesn't matter too much because, like I said, the minimum damage roll, I was very, very likely to KO that Venusaur. So he brings in his Skarmory. Here I thought he was going to either Defog or Roost. Either way, I just want to U-turn out and just go straight into my Rotom, threatening this Scizor out. I believe I go into my Rotom anyway. Yes, I do. So I go into my Rotom. I'm pretty sure he Roosts here just to keep his Skarmory healthy and around longer. Here, he's not going to switch in Quagsire again, so I'm pretty much free just to fire off a Volt Switch. I'm pretty sure this goes in Chansey, which is good for me, because between Stealth Rock and Volt Switch damage, and the fact that he has that Chansey can't hold leftovers, it's really good, means damage is racking up, and again, I've already broken the chain in Venusaur, and breaking through this Chansey here would be very, very good for my team. So here, I'm just going to fire off a Banded U-turn. He goes into Quagsire, which isn't a great switch because it's going to take a lot of damage from this U-turn. And this is good for me as as you can see, his whole team's just starting to get weakened and weakened and wore down. He's already lost his Venusaur, and the chains have to break open. So here, I'm free just to go into my Conkeldurr. I'm just going to go for the Drain Punch. It should kill with Guts Boost at 33%, and means he's most likely going to switch out. So like I said, I'm just going to fire off a Drain Punch. He switches in Skarmory, which is a decent switch on his part. But this Drain Punch with the Guts Boost actually does a pretty impressive 37%. Now here, I just wanted to keep Drain Punching because he's faster. If he Roosts, I get a super effective hit off. If he stays in Brave Bird, he'll take recall damage, and he'll take recall damage, and I'll be able to threaten this Skarmory out here. He actually surprised me with the counter here, but that's pretty much the best thing that could have happened because now this Skarmory dies upon Rock's entry, and it's pretty much forced to stay in here, and I can kill it with my Rotom. Now what this allows me to do is win the game from here. So like I said, you want to try to break those floodgates. Now I've got rid of his Venusaur and his Skarmory, the floodgates have opened for my Landorus just to come in and start wrecking his team. So like I said, I'm free to go into my Landorus, and everything on his Landorus from here dies to an Earthquake. His Aegislash is OHKO'd by an Earthquake, his Quagsire is only at 33% will die, his Heatran will obviously die, and Chansey's at 14% will die. So I KO the Aegislash, and my opponent sees there's no point, I guess, battling out this battle anymore because he can't beat my Landorus. So that's the end of the battle, and I wanted to show that battle just because it's a good example of how you play and beat against all. So like I said, I broke the chain, and then I was able to, the floodgates open for my Landorus, Therian, to come in and just wreck my opponent's team. Okay, that's the battle. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, have a good day. Goodbye.